All right, we will talk about a more advanced use of strings and characters to convert strings to an actual number. So if you enter a number in a string, right? So if your string is 1, 2, 3, 4, we want to make use of that and convert it to 1, 2, 3, 4. Now Java has this functionality, as you might have seen in the wrappers videos, with the wrapper classes. But let's build this ourselves. This will illustrate how to go over strings and how to treat them as arrays, and then how to use the card data type as well. You should look at the video about the card data type before coming in to this video, and let's begin. So I'm going to create a little, well, I'm going to import the scanner, of course. I'm going to create a little class called, or a program called string to numbers, and within the main, well, of course, the first thing you do is you want to create a way to input this number. So we'll create the scanner. Next, I will need some variables here. First, I'll have an input string, which is going to be the empty string. This input will take whatever the keyboard later enters. We'll see when that happens. And I'm going to have a Boolean variable isNumber that I'm going to set to true. I'm going to just assume that everything that's coming into the string when it comes is going to be a number. I'll use this as a sentinel or a flag to enter a while loop that will be asking the user for numbers until they do not enter a number. So let's do this while loop, right? While the variable isNumber is true, so while isNumber, then do something. It is convenient usually Boolean variables to call them is something because then it reads more naturally. So while isNumber, right? So while what I ever enter is a number, then do something. Now, I'm going to, of course, ask for the number. So enter a number, otherwise the system quits. And I'm going to have this input here be updated with whatever the user enters. Okay? Now, the actual number, okay, that I'm going to be converting this string into, because remember this is a string, and I want to convert it into an int, and I'm going to call int num. Now, one quick note here. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's the intuition. The intuition is, for example, that 345 is the same as 3 times 10 to the third plus 4 times 10 to the second, or 10 squared, plus 5 times 10 to the 1, right? So this is basically the intuition, is that if this were a string, right? So if I have quotes here, if this were a string is 5 times 10 to the 1, this is in the rightmost position, but it gets 1. Then as you move to the left, you multiply that number by 10 to the, and then this number increases by 1 from the number back here. You see that? So this number goes increasing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on, depending on how long the string is, right? That sounds like a for loop to me, right? Something that's going to be updating and increasing by 1, right? So whatever position here, I will multiply it. And then, for example, to get this number, it will be the exponent for the 10 here, the number 2, to get this. Okay, it will be this position, which is the second. So well, let's do the 3 to get this exponent, right? This character is in the first position, position 0. So let's look. It'll be the length of the string, right, minus the position this number is at. So for example, the length of the string is 3 minus this is at position 0. That gives you the number 3. So 3 length minus 0 position gives you 3, which is this exponent. Now if we go here, 4 is in position 1, right, index 1. So the length 3 minus 1, the position that gives you 2, is this exponent, right? And so on and so forth. This is the intuition that we will use for our program. So now we have a number and we're going to be adding these coefficients that we get. So like I said, that requires a for loop. So we have a for, int goes from 0 all the way to the end of the array, the end of the string. Remember, this length with parentheses indicates that this is actually an object, a string object in this case. So we're going to go from 0 to all the way to the end of the array. And the character that we pick, remember, because this is a string, that 3, 4, whatever, those are characters at this point. I'm just going to get the character at position ith, right? That will basically be getting me these numbers, the 3, the 4, the 5, okay? Now the next thing I will do is I will say, if this character is less than 58 and this character is greater than 47, remember characters can do have an integer representation that you can find in an ASCII table like this one, okay? So what is 48 is number 0 and 57 is number 9. So if I want my character to be a number that is between 0 and 9, I have to make sure that it's greater than 47 and that is less than 58, right? So it's greater than 47 and less than 58. So if my character, basically what this is saying is that if my character is the character that represents a number, then my number is going to be the character minus 48. That will get me the actual number. You'll see. So for example, this one, 53 minus 48 is 53 minus 48 is 5, and it corresponds to number 5. If you look at the character video, we did this with letters, okay, to see which letter of the alphabet was the letter that we were looking at. But basically is whatever this character minus the one that represents 0, that'll give me the actual number that's represented here. Okay, so it'll be that number times 10 raised to the power of, and then what we just did, right? So input length minus 1 minus I. I have an extra minus 1 here, and I'll explain in a second. This is to the second, to the 1, and this is to the 0th. I got the number wrong. I was doing a different number here. I was doing 300. That's the number that I was doing. But 345 is 3 to the second plus 4 times 10 to the first, so 40, and 5 times 10 to the 0. So just to recap, sorry about this. You probably spotted the error and were wondering, what is he doing? Well, here's my errata. This is 3 raised to the power times 10 to the power of 2. That's 300 plus 4 times 10, basically. That's 40. So that's 340. And 5 times 10 to the 0 is 1. So 5 times 1 is 5. So 340 plus 5. That's 345. Okay? So the only difference with what I said before is that I need to subtract an extra 1 here. Okay? So basically, it's the number, the character minus 48, which is the actual number that it's representing, times 10, comma, this exponent, the length of the array minus 1 minus the actual position that I'm in. Trace this, and you will see that it outputs it actually outputs what it needs to. It's accumulating that. Now, if the character is not a number, is not in this range, then I'm going to change its number to false, and I'm going to continue. That means I'm going to exit this for loop. Okay, I'm going to exit that for loop. Once I exit this for loop, or once I end the for loop, I need to print the number, right? So if it is a number, then your number is num. If it's not a number, it'll say not number by. Okay? So let's compile this and run it. So enter a number, otherwise the system quits. 345. It'll say your number is 345. Remember, when I entered it, it went into input. When I printed num. So it actually did the conversion from input to num, from string to integer. Okay? So now another number, like this one, it still works. Now enter a number. If I enter anything that's not a number, so 9 star, for example, As soon as it hits the star, it'll say number is false, and it will continue. So let's see that. Not a number, bye. That concludes our conversion from string to number without using the Java classes. This is what the actual Java classes at some level do under the hood.